My dad abandoned me and my brother for 15 years because his new wife didn't want kids. So when he crashed my wedding to play proud father, our entire family publicly exposed him. When I was 12 and my brother Leo was 9, our dad met Francine at a conference and decided she was worth throwing away his entire family. He sat us down at dinner and said he'd found his soulmate, and we'd understand when we were older. Mom cried, Leo begged him to stay, and I just stared at the man who'd coached my soccer team the week before now, saying he needed to follow his heart. Within a month, Dad moved 3 states away to be with Francine. She didn't want kids around ruining her fresh start with her new man, so Dad agreed we'd only see him twice a year. He actually sat in a lawyer's office and signed papers saying 2 visits annually was enough for his children. Mom fought for more custody time, but Dad said Francine found children stressful, and her comfort mattered. The judge looked disgusted, but couldn't force a father to want his kids. Those twice-yearly visits lasted exactly 1 year before Francine decided even that was too much. She said we made Dad nostalgic for his old life, and she needed him focused on their future. Dad called to explain that Francine required all his attention to be happy, and a happy wife meant happy life. He actually used those words to his 12 and 13-year-old children. He stopped calling on birthdays because Francine said it was manipulative to maintain bonds he couldn't fulfill. He missed Leo's middle school graduation because Francine planned a cruise that week. He skipped my high school graduation because Francine's nephew was getting married the same day. Every milestone, every achievement, every moment we needed a father, Francine came first. When Leo got into MIT, Dad sent a text saying congrats. When I got my nursing degree, he mailed a card that Francine clearly picked out. When Mom remarried Tim, who immediately treated us like his own kids, Dad didn't even acknowledge it. He was too busy traveling with Francine, renovating houses with Francine, hosting dinner parties with Francine's friends. We found out from distant relatives that Dad was telling everyone he and Francine chose to be child-free to focus on their relationship. He actually pretended we didn't exist, rather than admit he'd abandoned us. Last month, Francine died suddenly from an aneurysm. Dad called me for the first time in 3 years, sobbing about losing his everything. He wanted comfort from his daughter, the one he'd thrown away for Francine's comfort 15 years ago. I told him to call Francine's friends and hung up. He started showing up at places trying to reconnect. He came to Leo's doctoral defense uninvited, sitting in the front row like a proud father. Leo had security remove him. He showed up at Mom's house with flowers, saying he wanted to apologize to the family. Tim told him he wasn't family and shut the door. He sent long emails about grief and loneliness and needing his children now. We didn't respond. Then my wedding came. I married my partner Jordan last weekend in a beautiful ceremony with Mom walking me down the aisle since I'd never had a father to do it. Halfway through the reception, Dad walked in wearing a suit, holding a gift, acting like an invited guest. He tried to give a father of the bride speech. The DJ cut his mic, but Dad kept talking, saying how proud he was of the woman I'd become, how Francine would have loved to see this, how family bonds couldn't be broken. The entire room of people who'd actually been there for me stared at this stranger claiming to be my father. Tim stood up and loudly told everyone this was the man who'd chosen his wife's comfort over his children's lives. Mom's sister Helen added that he'd missed every birthday for 15 years because another woman didn't like kids. Leo's advisor from MIT mentioned Dad hadn't even known Leo was at MIT until after graduation, because he never asked about his son's life. Jordan's father said any man who abandoned his children didn't deserve the title of father. Dad tried to defend himself, saying Francine had needed him and relationships required sacrifice. Jordan asked if we were not relationships worth sacrificing for. Dad said it was different, that romantic love was stronger than parental obligation. The entire room gasped. My 90-year-old grandmother stood up and said she'd buried her husband 40 years ago and never once stopped being a mother because of grief. Dad left before the cake cutting, his gift sitting unopened on the gift table. Inside was a check for $10,000 with a note saying it was for all the birthdays he'd missed. We donated it to a charity for abandoned children in Francine's name. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Dad now emails weekly about loneliness, but we don't respond. He chose comfort over kids. Now he has neither.